Welcome to Enabling Buying in a World of Selling. This is a podcast with leaders, thought leaders in my world, and what enabling buying in a world of selling means in their world. If you're curious about the idea behind all of this, check out my book, Enabling Buying in a World of Selling, at enablingbuying.com, where you're actually able to listen to some chapters and pre-order the book today. Let's get into it. So it's my honor and pleasure today to introduce Kirsten Wynn, who is, Kirsten, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because I'm probably going to do you an injustice, but I want to speak quickly about the fact that we know each other for a long time. I would say it's probably 20 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of work together in different aspects. And I'd like you to just talk about you, your organization, and the context is enabling buying in a world of selling. So maybe what that means to you at the end of your introduction.
For sure. Thanks, Charles. Pleasure to be here. Thrilled to be on this with you. I'm Kirsten Wynn. I'm the Chief Innovation and Programming Officer for the Women Presidents Organization. The WPO is a peer advisory organization for successful women CEOs who've reached a certain level of success. We call them second stage entrepreneurs. And what we do in chapters all over the globe is we put our members in chapters where they learn from each other, grow with each other, and really create bigger businesses, better leaders. So that's us.
Beautiful. When you hear the term enabling buying in a world of selling, and I know we've spoken about it a few times, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, when I think about buying, the first half of that, I think about buying as a decision-making process and not a convincing process. And I think when we design leadership and culture and systems around enabling better decisions, not just faster ones, we really unlock trust and impact. And I think what's missing in the selling part and this world of selling is that impact piece and the trust piece. I think that's missing in a lot of these conversations that happen so often with people selling you something or convincing you of something. It should be a decision made together.
Wonderful. And your entire organization works with something you said that I wrote down, second stage entrepreneurs. I'd like you to dig into that a little bit, but after you've done that, what do you see in women-led companies that enables them to do perhaps a better job at enabling buying?
Sure. So second stage entrepreneurs, what I mean by that is these are entrepreneurs that are beyond the startup phase. So they are into the growth phase of their business. For us, that means beyond 2 million in annual revenue. For others, it may mean something different, but the organization goes anywhere from 2 million up to a couple billion. So we're really in that growth stage, no matter where you are in that spectrum. And then Charles, you asked about women-led companies specifically and how they're doing that buying or selling. And I think there's a lot of alignment with women-led companies. And I think alignment, when we talk about alignment, it doesn't just come from the top. Alignment is when the entire organization knows where you're going and knows their role in it. So I think with WPO members and what I see with them, many members outperform because their alignment is embedded into their culture and not just their operations. So, and I mean this, I want to give an example. Alignment can mean simplifying. So it can mean what's on your not to-do list. What are the things you don't want to do? So it's on your no list, and that simplifying directs you to the things that are important that drive impact or revenue to your company.
So alignment is really a wonderful word, and the way you described it triggered me to think about, what we do when we work with organizations is the first thing we like people to recognize is sales revenue generation isn't just isolated to sales. There are other parts of the organization like marketing, operations, human resources, finance, executive leadership. Have you noticed in all the businesses, and you gave us a huge range, 2 million to billions, But in all of these organizations, and I know you've talked to many, 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 what do you see as common threads in being able to unify that organization that you're the CEO of, that your women-led companies are the CEOs of, so they bring that alignment that you describe?
Yeah, a couple of things, Charles. I think women specifically kind of stray away from those hard sell tactics because I think they're so collaborative. So I think that women, certainly in the WPO, are innately making relationships happen. And in those relationships, that kind of revenue generation happens that way. The other thing I think that I'm seeing, and certainly what the WPO provides, is a trust ecosystem. So when you create this level of trust between your peers or between, others that you're making decisions with, and I'm saying decisions, not selling, I think those decisions come faster and easier because there's so much trust there to begin with, so much of a relationship. And I think that's the difference I'm seeing, that it isn't that really hard sell convincing technique. It is that trust to begin.
Wonderful. And one thing that with the current economic slash political climate, a word that I hear is sort of confusing a lot of people, and that is inclusion. And I'd love you to speak to what does that look like? Like, how do people these days feel they belong in an organization? And what are you seeing? This doesn't have to be just isolated to women-led businesses, but what are you seeing in terms of the businesses you're working with to help people feel more included, like they have more of a sense of belonging?
Sure. I think we know the business case for inclusion. I think inclusion and inclusive leadership increases innovation and speeds up decision making. So I think we have that as a baseline. But I think what inclusive cultures do is they provide more durable buy-in because they allow for dissent before the decision as opposed to passive resistance afterwards. So I think having a place where you can have that dissent is incredibly important. And having an inclusive place, culture, workplace, whatever you want to call it, is incredibly important to that. I think women are doing it really well, just in the fact that they make all these relationships happen. But I think we can do it better. And I think when people are heard and included, and they don't delay on that, they engage more fully. So I think that's the business case. I think it's really about engaging and engaging fully, and that's why you should be inclusive.
Oh, I really love that. So let's kick it up a notch and say, if we take everything we've said about alignment, inclusion, relationships, and think how to project that outwardly, because much of what we talked about is within the organization. Let's put it out there in terms of how does that help your company's buyers, so the companies you see that you deal with, how are all these factors we've talked about impacting buyers and clients and customers? Want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think that with the WPO members, and what I've seen is that they build businesses where selling feels like sharing. And they've done this because they've already earned the right to offer value. So if you've earned that right, then you are providing solutions as opposed to selling or convincing of them. And I think what we talked about in terms of alignment, it makes that whole system seamless. You're not convincing others, you're on the same page. It's an easy decision. So I think sales teams really undermine how early the journey starts, how early that sales journey starts. It starts with the tone of your email. Like the pitch isn't the beginning, it's the confirmation. So when you're going through all of this, I think the alignment, the inclusiveness, all of this getting on the same page to provide a solution in a way where you're sharing something that you do really well, I see this in the WPO all the time, and I see these successful businesses almost letting you in on a secret. It's like, oh, it's a solution for you.
Wow, I just was taking a bunch of notes. I've never heard some of the things, and I'd love to quote you on a couple of things you said. One is selling feels like sharing. I've never heard that before, and it is a real paradigm buster. I really like stuff. You get it right away, right? And then something else you said that I'd like you to kind of dig into a little bit more is the buy-in before the pitch. You sort of hinted at that. So tell people listening, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think people underestimate how early that process starts. I mean, the relationship is everything. And I think the buy-in before the pitch, what I said before is the pitch is not the beginning, it's the confirmation. So
Right.
there's so much leeway before that pitch for you to work on. And what I see women innately doing is that relationship piece and building that trust and making sure that is there as a platform for you to build on top of. So I don't think you come in, Charles, you and I were talking earlier about people on LinkedIn that start with the sell, and it's, I don't know you, is what you said. And
Right.
that's completely the truth. I don't know you. So people have to know you. People buy from people.
Beautiful. Yeah, we were talking about that. Someone wants to connect with you on LinkedIn, and 2 seconds later, there's a sales pitch, and it's a sales pitch with a. Do you want to jump on a Zoom call for 15 minutes? Does this person think I have nothing else to do? Um, again, going back to 2 million to 1 billion range, lots of businesses in shapes, sizes, industries, the works. Give us a little bit of a teachable moment for the companies that are perhaps at the lower end of the spectrum who are looking to get to scale, to get to that. Because most business owners are trying to grow their business, right? So they can hire more people, so they can deliver the value proposition in a bigger way, ultimately make a bigger impact. What are some of the secrets that you've seen in the secret sauce that you can share to get people up that continuum?
Sure. So we do a listing of the 50 fastest growing women owned and led companies every year. And every year they talk about what they wish they had known when they started. So, and I've gone through this for 18 years. So I've seen all of this. And the thing that comes up every single year is I wish I had fired faster, but I wish I had hired sooner. So many times these companies are growing hand over fist and they don't have the infrastructure. And at some point, you're going to stall because you'll have to go back and create that infrastructure so that you can scale. So what I would say to the smaller businesses or the businesses that are scaling is have that infrastructure and have it ready, knowing that you want to be a 20 million, 30 million, $40 million company, because that infrastructure will serve you as you grow. It'll be a lot of work on the front end, but it's better than getting to a place and having to stop everything to go back.
Wow, that so resonates, Kirsten. Build the infrastructure and then hire people into it, as opposed to what a lot of people do is they hire people thinking that's going to grow the company, and then they're trying to build that infrastructure around them. I love that. Well, we're starting to wrap up, so I'd like to ask you, some personal reflections. What have you followed? Who do you follow? What do you follow? Books you read? Things maybe habits you formed that you could teach other people about? Like what would be something that you could recommend to other people?
Well, this is fun stuff. Okay. Who do I follow? I follow everyone. I listen to podcasts all the time. I try to say podcasts are my news, but my business authors are Jim Collins, first and foremost. But then it is Sean Aker on happiness. It is, even a little Mel Robbins in there, a little Brene Brown on vulnerability. There's a bunch in there. In terms of personal tips, things like that, everything is in my calendar. Everything goes in my calendar. I do what my calendar tells me to. So my workouts are in my calendar. Everything's in there. It just helps me. And then in terms of what I've seen with WPO members and what helps them, Your time is your most valuable asset, and it's the thing that WPO members are so short on. So it's not going to be money, it's going to be time. And decide where you spend your time, because that's where the impact will be.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. And I always appreciate you. We've known each other, we work together very closely, and it's an honor. And I mean that. You know, we've traveled together. Because I've done some retreats with some of your organizations that you represent. And I always feel that having you in the mix makes those retreats and speakers like me deliver a better version of ourselves. So thank you. You're a mentor, and I really appreciate you. Um, and I'll post this, and hopefully will help you spread the word, because I really am a big supporter of WPO. I've had the privilege of seeing how some of the groups interact with each other at these meetings, and it's wonderful. I also hear amazing feedback. So thanks, Kirsten.
Thanks, Charles. You're a master, and I love doing this with you. Pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Enabling Buying in a World of Selling. Real talk with people who are really interested in this concept. Again, as a reminder, please go to enablingbuying.com, where you can listen to some sample chapters from my book. And if you're interested, you can pre-order a copy for yourself. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And in the meantime, please enable good things.